Hello, this is Pastor Coleman, and I'm going to do a series of videos, and I'm announcing it with this introductory video to help people to see what they can do to try to restore our government to its lawful boundaries. And so I'm going to expose what's wrong with our government with a simple principle. And so I've always wanted to be involved in protecting our liberties and prolonging liberties in our land. And I've always wanted to stand up for that which is right and against that which is wrong. As a pastor, that's what I'm supposed to do. But it's been very difficult because government makes ministry very difficult nowadays. And without going into too much detail, government, or I should say agents within the government and people outside the government but that are parties to government actions, corporations and corporate leaders and so forth, they stole our church property that we had for over 60 years through bad government and bad laws and bad understanding and the desire for government to control and make money. They stole our church property that we had for 60 years. And I'm not making a video about that. I'm just saying that is kind of what's really got me wanting to do this more and more. But I always keep doing God's work first. But I want to do a series of videos to help people, anybody. You don't have to be a church going. You don't have to believe in God. I mean, you're not going to get far if you don't. But it's for everybody who cares about their freedom and their liberties and their right to make their own decisions and use their free will, provided you don't use it to harm someone else or their property or infringe on their liberties. So, with that said, what happened to us, and now what's happened to me personally, I'm having to fight a court battle now because government is out of control. And so, I'm sorry to say that's the reason why I have to do this. And I'm going to make time to do it because I have to. Word needs to go out. Not so much about my case. I'm not going to talk about my case much at all. It's the principles behind it that allow these kind of infringements in our liberties to happen. So let me just say this. Whether you know it or not, and many of you do, but some people do not know this, but your rights are being violated every day by governments at different levels, federal, state, and local. So, county, and then even municipal. So, they're being violated every day. And the reason I'm going to show you why is because it has become a tradition. It's become a tradition. Now, I'm going to read to you a passage from the Bible that perfectly explains this principle. And you're going to be amazed. This is from the very words of Jesus himself in Matthew chapter 15. In Matthew chapter 15, Jesus is talking to the scribes and Pharisees, the chief rulers and so forth. The scribes and Pharisees. And they come to him. They notice that his disciples, didn't wash their hands before eating. So they come to Jesus and say, why do your disciples transgress the law or the commandments and traditions of men? Why do they do that? Let me read you the exact question. They said, why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. I mean, you ever feel like your life is being micromanaged? Imagine living back then when the scribes and Pharisees were in charge, at least of the Jewish community. Man, oh man, like what? You're gonna someone's in trouble because they didn't wash their hands before they ate? So now it's very important. They say, why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? Right? That's key phrase. Now watch how Jesus responds. He says in this verse 3 of Matthew 15, but he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition. See, he doesn't just answer their question. Look, a lot of questions that government people will ask you, you have no need, there's no need for you to answer. It's not any of their business. Now they try to make it their business, but often it's not. So you have a right to not answer. So Jesus confirms that. And then he turns it on them and he asks them, why? Because they're rulers. Rulers are supposed to serve. People in positions of power have those positions because they're delegated to them by the people. Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 2 says all political power is inherent in the people. And so that's true. So we have the right to ask government officials questions. And so here's the principle. I don't get too deep into this. I'll do a more in-depth thing on this principle, but I want to just break it to you today to introduce this series that we're going to do. So Jesus asked, why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? See, they're getting on to his disciples for violating the tradition of the elders. Jesus says, why do you violate the law of God by your traditions? Now, what's more important, traditions or the law of God? Now, here's how I'm going to apply it to us. Which is more important, the Constitution or a law that some legislature passed? You see what I'm getting at? Many times legislatures pass laws that are unconstitutional. They'll make rules, they'll establish policies and protocols that violate the rights of the people. Now, people say, oh yeah, but we have to do this because of, it's usually because of safety or security. Those two things, or for the children, are excuses why they violate the rights of the people. Now, I'm not going to go into all kinds of ideas, examples, but when you start thinking about this, it'll open your eyes to the truth. We have a supreme law of the land. It's called the U.S. Constitution. Next to that is the respective constitutions of each state. But the U.S. Constitution is supreme, and then next is the state constitutions. Now, state laws or federal laws that are not pursuant to their respective constitutions are not law. They're invalid and should not be treated as law. So here's what happened. Here's what's interesting. Here's what I want you to think about. Our rights are being violated all the time because laws are passed by legislatures and then enforced and interpreted by various types of law enforcement and even courts based on their interpretation of those laws. Now, so Jesus did the right thing. He said, you violate the law. There are many people, government officials, who violate the rights of the people because they've traded in their duty to protect our rights for the privilege of enforcing a law on us or against us. And so that's what's going on in our country. That's the root cause. If you give this some thought, that is the root cause. And I'm going to do a bunch of videos that branch off from this principle so that we can understand why this is happening to us. Now, some government officials don't know they're doing this. It's like a lot of people, they belong to some religion. They don't know why they believe what they believe. They don't know why they do what they do. It's just what they've always done. And a lot of people do what they've been told, what they've always done, what the protocol is, and they don't know the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2 of the Arizona Constitution states, and this is not just true for Arizona, it's a principle that should govern every state and everything, every facet of our lives. It states this. Let me just quote the whole thing. I started with it earlier. All political power is inherent in the people. Then it says, and governments derive their just powers, and they only have the right to exercise just powers. They derive their just powers from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. So the purpose of government is to protect our rights. Our right to life, to liberty, and and property. I'll say life, property, and liberty in that order. So that's the purpose of government, is to protect our rights. That's it. Nothing else. That's it. And so what's happened is we have laws now that now regulate our rights and establish penalties when there's nobody's rights or property or person is being violated. And it's become a system where the government gets control over the people and they make money. And that's what needs to stop. We need to stop violating people's rights unless they violate someone else's. So that's it. I'm gonna leave it there, and I'll do some more later and I'll do short videos. This actually went longer than I intended, but it's par for the course for me. All right, thanks. Be looking for the next one, and I hope you'll comment, share, and like, or whatever, thumbs up, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. I'm not doing this for clicks. I'm doing it out of duty. Out of duty. This needs to be done. This stuff needs to get out, and people need to be. We need understanding. We need wisdom, and so all right. Take care. God bless you, and see you in the next video.